Greetings, family, and welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? This is my co-host, Errol. I really do pray, family, that you are very well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life very much on your own terms. Special shout out to every single person that supports us on Patreon and sends us love donations through PayPal. To all of you guys who have supported us in any way, we appreciate, love you so much. You've enabled us to bring the awakening news to our people, and the news really is in a massive transition, family, because now it's not Africa is the world. Let's literally say that. And now, because of the wizardry and the magic that Babylon did, we are all connected globally, and we can't say there's no event that happens in a silo. There's nothing that happens in Africa that doesn't affect the rest of the world. There's nothing that happens in Asia that doesn't affect the rest of the world, because we've all been brought onto this one narrative, family. And there's been a lot of sightings of UFOs, and what are they calling them, UAPs or whatever. Then the government came out, the government of the divided states came out and said that they believed aliens were coming from the ocean. Recently there's been this crazy UFO sighting in New Jersey. I think over a military base in New Jersey. The divided states government is unable to explain what's going on. In fact, check the show that I just did on that. I think I released that before this. And if you want to catch any of the shows before, then definitely consider joining our Patreon. And I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys about how come we don't hear about UFO sightings on the motherland, or is it because there are none? How come we're not hearing, there's not the same reporting and sighting? And family, I believe this is the land where they are. But it reminds me of a story recently where there was a young gentleman who was walking home. And I don't want to share too much of his story, but literally what he said is on his way home, he saw literally it was like a movie. He saw a fragment, he saw a thread of gold or whatever. And then next thing he saw an opening, a portal opening, and he could see another world of what he said was an extremely ugly, naked being. And he has tried to share that story with his mother, with his peers, with his colleagues, and all of them are saying literally it's the weed he's smoking, he's high on something. They've discredited him. Many are even saying that maybe he should seek help, mental help, maybe he's going crazy, maybe he's going mad. And this is the general vibe across the motherland, family. And this is the damage that religion and Christianity did. Because you see, before religion came to the motherland, our first eye was wide open, and we would see our ocean families. We would see the nature beings, because we lived as one with them, family. And there are even in the Agikoyo nation, there is a particular nation that could talk to animals. There is another nation, I think it's the Wajiro or something. There is another nation that had the power to talk to nature and to command weather and to call in rain and things like that. And so Christianity, family, I told you, it was a military operation to shut down the motherland. And the way they shut down the motherland is to disconnect those that they could, those that they so-called captured. Those ones that didn't, move into the Kwakandas and into places that were in other dimensions, was to disconnect us from our kin, from our ancestors, from our ancient ones, from even those that lived among us, the gods that lived among us, the other beings that lived among us, and to demonize them. Because we were told that these, maybe we refer to them as ancestors, but as I do deeper study and meditation, I realized that for our ancestors, they weren't just ancestors. We saw in a different way. And Christianity came and shut down our sight by making us feel ashamed of it, by removing God from within us, removing the Creator from within us and putting Him outside of us and making us perpetually seek that forever. by demonizing our spiritual practices and killing off our teachers, our spiritualists, our healers, which created a lot of fear and anxiety, by making the medicine men and women, the elders of our communities, appear to be evil and to be working for Satan. So there was a lot of indoctrination that was done. And some of you may wonder, how did this happen? Well, don't forget that Babylon came and the first thing they did was break down the family. They took the child from the mother and put him in a school. And so instead of the mother being the primary teacher of the child, the school became the primary teacher of the child. And this is why within 2 generations, our parents and our grandparents had literally been cloned into Mzungus, just like that. And then now you add language and all these things. And so even us being ashamed of our language and people being so brainwashed in schools that when they left the schools, they would not even teach their children the mother tongue, because when they went to those schools for the nuns or when they went to those free schools, anytime they spoke their mother tongue, they'd be beaten, they'd receive punishment, they'd be shamed in front of their classes. And so they just got to learn that their language was a shame, their religious practices was a shame, their culture was a shame. Because you see, for us, spirituality, culture, we didn't separate things. It was all one. Culture is spirituality. Spirituality is culture. Stories for other days. And so those are the people who have led the motherland in the last, let's say 60 years since we gained so-called independence. Those are the ones, and their parents, those are the ones who have been leading us. They are completely disconnected from their any kind of ancestral anything, from any kind of spiritual anything. And they're deeply entrenched in Christianity, in religion, in Catholicism, which makes them, and there's a level of self-hate because of the shame that they grew up with and they were taught. And so we don't blame them, family. But you see, they are the ones now who have made certain subjects on the motherland a no-no. Like for so long, family, I was considered a conspiracy theorist, someone who's slightly mad, someone who's high all the time, just because I was talking of our ancestors and the ancient ones. And then now here comes a generation where our first eye has been restored, where because of just circumstance, because of how the World Wide Web has worked, people have been activated, and because there's been this return of a lot of these hidden nations, they had to literally send one of their own to reconnect them back into the system so that they could bring down the system. If you know, you know. So we are in that point in the motherland where you realize that those who are religious, especially the Christian, they live in so much fear. And they're the first ones to criticize, and they criticize the loudest. And a lot of us who are deep in the Christian faith will make you realize that the Christians are the most judgmental and the most intolerant. And yet they're supposed to be following the teachings of Christ. It's all a sham. It's all mental slavery. It was a military psychological operation to mentally enslave our people and to disconnect them from their power, their people, their spirituality, their gods, all of that. So now what's happening is there's an emerging generation where this is happening, where they're seeing things, where the ancestors and the ancient ones and angelic beings and ocean beings are appearing to them. But they literally have no one to talk to about it. And when they go to their mothers or their aunts who are literally the gatekeeping generation, are they called the baby boomers and all that? They are literally family, the gatekeeping generation. When they go to them, they're completely shamed. They're talked down to. They're ostracized. They're laughed at. Some are actually even taken in for a mental evaluation. And that, my beloveds, is why we don't hear of a lot of UFO sightings across the motherland, although they are happening all the time and they're happening with increasing frequency. A lot of, you see, there's an ancient saying among the Africans or the Bantu that our ancestors travel in the dark clouds. And so first people used to think there's these spirits that are traveling in the dark clouds. But it's to say the spaceships and the UFOs of our ancestors travel in the dark clouds. They cloak themselves using, clouds family. And if you become sensitive enough, if you become pure enough, if you become clear enough, if you become clean enough, you will start to feel that vibration and to connect with them. There are probably more sightings in the motherland than anywhere. But I've noticed anytime there's also sightings, the government is very quick to shut them down because the governments of Africa are run by the Catholics, the Anglicans, the Christians. And these are the gatekeepers of the motherland's mental and spiritual transformation. But we're about to do something. We're thinking of bringing our voices, of creating a space where we can discuss these things. If you have any ideas about that, family, leave it in the comments or send me an email. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon and sends us love donations through PayPal. There's an amazing gift for you in the mail. Until next time, family. Tuko pamoja. To all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines.